Shivers, The Enchanted Attic by M.D. Spencer, Chapter 22. Nicole sneezed all the way through Casey's play. She had taken a hot bath that night to try to get some warmth back into her bones, but she had caught cold anyway. She was scolded by her mother, who wanted to know what in the world she had been doing outside in weather like that. Playing, Nicole said weakly. But her mother didn't find that answer very convincing. Each time Nicole sneezed during the play, her teacher, Mrs. Chestnut, with the horsey teeth, glared over at her disapprovingly. She didn't seem so delighted by Nicole anymore. But Casey didn't mind the sneezing. She was the star of the show, which was all she cared about. Nicole looked at her father. He was looking up at the stage, beaming with pride. Nicole scowled at him and sneezed. What did he care that Casey had almost died? Of course he didn't realize it. Then again, he didn't realize much, Nicole thought. He still thought moving to an old house in Massachusetts had been a terrific idea. What the heck did he know? Nicole had to admit, when she thought about it, that Casey really hadn't almost died. In fact, nothing had happened to her at all. I'm the one who almost died out there in the rain and sleet, she thought to herself bitterly. And he doesn't even care, grinning up at the stage like that. The whole thing with Casey had been a mistake. Nicole realized now that she had put 2 and 2 together and come up with 5. There had been a doll that looked similar to Casey, startlingly similar. And there had been a grave for someone with the same first name and the same age. But the different last name and the wrong dates of birth and death should have been a tip-off. It had all been nothing but a horrible, horrible coincidence. Casey carried the flashlight as she and Nicole entered the attic. The music had woken them up in the night again, after they had come home from the play and kept them awake all night. They knew something had to be done. They couldn't go on like this, scared and sleepless. They walked to the trunk, the beam of the flashlight cutting a tunnel of light through the darkness. The trunk was empty, nor were there any dolls on the floor nearby. Suddenly, they heard a noise behind them. They turned. Casey swung the beam around, and they saw the scholar standing frozen against the wall. His cap had been knocked askew, and he had a bruise on his face as if he had been in a fight. But the most amazing thing was, he wasn't the size of a doll anymore. He still looked like a doll, and he wasn't moving. But he was the size of a full-grown man. Nicole and Casey gasped. Then they heard a voice screaming from another side of the room.
Why don't you let the dead rest in peace?
Yelled a woman's voice. The girls swung around again, and the beam of light settled on the woman who looked like a farmer's wife. She was full-size too, and frozen in place with a yell on her lips, and her finger pointed straight at Casey and Nicole. From off to their right came a man's voice.
We hate you.
Casey screamed. Nicole, she cried. Something's trying to grab me. The flashlight clattered to the floor. Nicole dived to pick it up. She shone the light on Casey, who was caught in the grip of the cello player, who was now frozen in place, motionless, an angry grimace on his face. Casey was kicking furiously, trying to wriggle free. "Nicole, help!" she yelled. "They're going to kill us!" Nicole heard a swish of air right above her head. She turned and shone the light on a doll she had not seen before. A man frozen in place with a sword in his hand. "Nicole, help me!" Casey yelled. Suddenly, in her terror, it dawned on Nicole that she never saw the dolls move. They couldn't move in the light. They could only move in darkness. She had to get to the window and tear the blankets off it. But the flashlight wasn't enough. She had to let the sun into the room. She ran, but she couldn't remember which wall the window was on. "Please!" Casey screamed. Nicole shone the light on the wall, but saw only the wedding dress and the musket. Then she whirled around to shine the light behind her so she could freeze anyone who was about to attack. She sidled along the wall, groping for the window. Finally, she found it. She grabbed the blanket with one hand and tried to yank it away. It was nailed tightly to the window frame. It wouldn't come loose. "Nicole! He's choking me!" Casey yelled. In desperation, Nicole dropped the flashlight and grabbed the blanket with both hands and pulled with all her might. Something grabbed her from behind and tried to pull her away. Whatever it was wrapped its arms around her waist and tugged. Nicole could hear angry gasps in her ear and feel its hot breath on her neck. Suddenly, the blanket gave way and ripped from the window. Casey and whatever was pulling her from behind tumbled back onto the floor. Sunlight streamed into the attic, slanting in through the window and lighting the particles of dust that floated in the air. Nicole stood up and looked around. Behind her on the floor, motionless, lay a man. The one who was elected senator had been trying to pull her away from the window. In the middle of the floor, Casey was in the grasp of the cello player, who now looked like a large statue. His hands were still clamped around Casey's throat. Nicole walked over and, using all her strength, pried the hands apart. Casey wriggled free and bent over, gasping and catching her breath. "You all right?" Nicole asked. "Yeah," Casey said. "I am now, thanks to you." Arm in arm, the girls walked slowly toward the door. All around, life-size dolls lay in strange positions. Some had been fighting with each other. Others had been ready to leap on the girls. In the corner, a soldier was kneeling down, aiming a rifle. Fortunately, he had never gotten the chance to fire. The girls walked out the door and locked it firmly behind them. "Nicole! He's choking me!" Casey yelled.